Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the STEM Files, where we highlight the best and brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Today's episode is about prostate cancer, the importance of it, and how it relates to issues in the Black community. Stay tuned. All right. Good afternoon. Once again, this is the STEM Files. Well, good evening. Good afternoon. It's good evening. This is the STEM Files, where we highlight the best and brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, particularly in the Black community. I'm your host, one of your hosts, actually, Tariq Tariq Muhammad, aka Tariq Cardiac. I am a biomedical research scientist with a primary background in cardiovascular pathobiology, which is the study of how diseases form in the heart and blood vessels. I'm usually joined by my co-host, Jabril Muhammad, aka Jabrain Engineer. He is a materials engineer, concentrations in mechanical engineering, and he works for the United States Navy on working with failure analysis. I'm definitely misquoting him, and I wish he was here to tell us more about what he does. But just in a nutshell, he is a mechanical engineer, concentrations in materials engineering. He couldn't be with us today. He's away on travel, and but he's definitely here with us in spirit, and he'll definitely be dropping some questions down in the comment section. But I'm joined by a good man, a future husband, and
Love you, woman.
Absolutely. He is a PhD candidate in prostate cancer biology at the University of Miami. Rolando Lyles, what's up, man?
Yo, like Tarek said, I'm Rolando Lyles. Actually, this is my second time doing the STEM Files. I'm really good friends with both of the co-hosts, one of which was actually my roommate in college. I was going, poke some fun at him if he was here, but he's not, so we'll let that go. But yeah, no, man, I'm definitely excited, and I'm happy to be here again with you.
Awesome. Yeah, just to kind of give everybody a history lesson on that. So the STEM Files was originally on Blog Talk Radio, and that was back in 2016 to 2017. And I think, Rolando, you were about, I think, our third or fourth guest.
Yeah, it was really early on, somewhere around there.
Yeah, even I look back at the old graphics for that promotional material, man, and I was
like, let me tell you. So I've been watching like the new stuff as of late, and I'm like, whoa, we came a long way. Man, this is amazing. You know what I mean? It's amazing. And that's what life's about, growth and progression.
Yeah. I thought about putting the old advertisement up just to kind of show everyone, but I was like, man, I was ashamed of that work. I didn't want to see anyone to see how bad I was at graphics at one point.
You were just starting, so.
It goes to show you just how amazing your mind transforms over time as you get more comfortable in what you're doing. And those graphics and those images, they were good, but the way I look at things now and how I looked at it then, I should have slapped. Like if I can go back in time and just like look at this is terrible, But that's all. Like you said, it's all part of the growth.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So tell us a little bit about yourself for those who are watching. What exactly is that you do? What your research entails, and how did you get involved in cancer biology or studying anything or studying like that?
All right. So you want the abridged version, or you want me to give you a little bit of details in there?
Do you? How would you? I'm a total stranger in the elevator. Tell me about yourself.
Got you. All right, then. So my name is Rolando DZ Lyles. Quick fact, actually, right? So I start including DZ, which are my middle initials, and it was a part of like an identity thing that I was going through like in high school, where I realized I have two middle names, and I was given these names for a reason by my parents, and it's just a part of embracing who you are in its entirety. And so that's why, like, all my diplomas, all my degrees have both of my initials. And I think it's an important commentary on just us as Black people, especially Black researchers, minority in this field. But it's important to just embrace who you are at all times in all spaces. So that's just a little side note. But my name is Rolando Lyles. I am now a fifth-year PhD candidate at the University of Miami. where I study prostate cancer, more specifically castration-resistant prostate cancer. Uh, I said I met the co-host Jabril in college. He was my roommate at the University of Pennsylvania. At Penn, I studied bioengineering. I got my bachelor's in bioengineering with a minor in engineering, entrepreneurship, and math. While I was there, I got a master's in biotechnology, concentrating in biopharmaceuticals and engineering. And now, like I said, I'm a PhD candidate. And my journey here to studying studying prostate cancer specifically, it's one of those situations where, as I, progress through the academic ranks, and I always liked biology, and like that was always something that interested me. So all my degrees was centered around biology. And then throughout time, I would notice, like, what are those things that kind of grip you and grip your attention, and that you always find yourself coming back to. And I remember actually 11th grade was the first time that I learned what cancer was. And a lot of times, especially like, where I'm from, there's a misconception about a lot of diseases. People don't understand them. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
people know, oh, grandma got the sugar, you know what I mean? Or, this person got like, cancer or whatever, but what does that actually mean? And I remember growing up, I always thought cancer was like this, like, thing that you can contract, this, pathogen that, whatever. And I was in 11th grade and we had a biology class, and I learned that cancer is just uncontrolled cell division of your own cells. And I was like, wait, so like you doing this to you? Like it's me, right? Never forgot that moment. And as I went through to do my, master's work, and when it was time to pick like, a project that, I focused on like, cancer genetics and like, all these things. And then when you start thinking about the familial ties, so I have several people in my family who either succumbed to cancer or have battled cancer or is currently battling cancer. And, coming up, you always want to be in a position where I want to help people. I want to be, in a space where I can do things for people. And then when I realized academically, I am now in a position to learn more about something to make progress towards fixing or curing or healing something that's been ailing not only my community, but my personal family. Um, it was an opportunity for me to continue and grow in that career path. And so it's always been something that I've been interested in learning about cancer, and how it works. And now I'm fortunate enough to be able to study cancer and look for curative and treatment options. And it's just been a blessing.
Awesome, awesome. You mentioned the word cure. That word often is often used as a fighting word in the scientific community. Why do you think that is? Why do we tend to not use the word cure, or not try to go in that direction when it comes to
Yeah.
cancer?
And you know what? That's a good point, actually. I probably should not have said that because it is definitely a controversial word. And so here's one thing, right? A lot of people, and I hear about this a lot, people think, oh, there's this magical cure to cancer that, either certain groups are hiding or that certain groups have access to. But one of the main reasons why it's hard to cure cancer, right, is because you and I were talking before we started. And actually, it wasn't you. I was talking to someone else, but we were talking about just how with cancer research, the key to most of the studies is the specificity, right? Like specifically targeting one vulnerability at a really accurately. And right, that's great. And with cancer, cancer isn't it's a disease of genetics, but there isn't one thing that causes cancer, right? So I use this car analogy, and this is the way that I discuss cancer with people in regards to why or whether or not cancer is curable. Let's say, Tariq, you and I have a car, right? And both of our cars is cancer, right? They both won't start. So let's say a car not starting is cancer, correct?
Right.
So my car isn't starting because my battery is dead, right? Your car isn't starting because your engine is gone, right? Now, when it comes time to try and cure the cancer, start the car, my treatment option is completely different from yours. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
for me, if you jump the battery, change the battery, cool, you solve that problem. And that's what the specificity in treatment is about in cancer research, is that you identify a specific problem within a specific cancer caused by a certain thing. You know what I mean? And you identify that. But cancer exists in multiple cell types. The cell types in your body can become cancerous. Uh, they express different genes, proteins, they're regulated differently. They have different growth and proliferation cycles. All of these things that make them different and unique. And there's so many ways that they can become cancerous. So it's hard to have a magical cure because everything has its own different cause. And even if you and I both have prostate cancer, that's great. Genetically, we're different. Look at us. We don't look the same, right? So there's something different about our genetics. So something that may work beautifully for me and my prostate cancer that's caused by the same thing as yours may work differently from you or have different adverse side effects just because genetically your body is different. You express different proteins at different levels at different times. You know what I mean? So there are a lot of complexities that go into it, which is why the blanket term cure is always hard to throw around. And it's dangerous too when people do throw things around like we've cured this or this is the cure to this, because you give people false hope and you can, it's not a safe thing to do generally.
And I'm glad you mentioned the different types of ways cancer can come about. There's a need in the Black community, or a need in general, to focus more on nutrition as ways to help fight disease. How do you see nutrition playing a part in your research? Well, let me go back a little bit. Can you tell us more about your research? Not in too much details, because we just got finished talking about the politics.
Yeah.
But can you tell us more about your research, what it entails, what prostate cancer is, and why is it important for us to do this particular dialogue on prostate cancer for the Black community?
Perfect. And I'm glad you stressed the Black community specifically, but I'm gonna give you a little general overview of prostate cancer and then talk about why it's important in the Black community as well.
Yeah.
So prostate cancer is the most frequently diagnosed and second most lethal cancer in the U.S. in all men. Excuse me. In Black males, it's the most frequently diagnosed, most deadly cancer in the United States, actually. And if you compare different parts of the world that have African descent, the incidence to mortality rate is like 2 to 3 times that of other regions of the world. So it's a disease that plagues the Black community. And, we can get into reasons like, a little bit later. But so prostate cancer in and of itself is a relatively treatable and, tamed disease. So when you have localized prostate cancer, which is just prostate cancer that's benign, localized at the prostate, the standard of care treatment is like surgery or radiation. And typically that's fine, right? For a lot of people, that'll be sufficient. And if not, let's say I know people probably heard of PSA, right? So PSA is a protein that can be used to gauge the activity and growth of prostate cells. So when you go get a blood test and say, oh, my PSA levels are elevated, that could mean that there's increased growth in prostate cells, right? Which, as we discussed, cancer is uncontrolled cell division. So that's why that's a marker. So let's say if, you have your initial therapies and then you get an increase in your PSA again, now you have, let's say, non-localized or systemic therapy. Then you get a systemic treatment, different drug options that target the androgen receptor, that target the prostate cancer specifically. So prostate cancers are, like other cancers, like breast cancers, are hormone-driven cancers. Prostate cancer specifically is driven by the androgen receptor, right? So something called the androgen receptor that has hormone ligands, DHT, so testosterone, right? So the androgen receptor recognizes testosterone. It promotes growth and division of these cells, right? So, of course, when you have a systemic treatment, the systemic treatment for prostate cancer is to target androgen receptor signaling. So it's either direct antagonism or you can prevent the synthesis of testosterone, but different ways to prevent the ligand and the receptor from interacting, right? And so that's great. And you have a remission. And, but unfortunately, and what makes prostate cancer so deadly is that there's a subpopulation of prostate cancer cells that arise that no longer depend on the androgen receptor to grow and divide. So these are now called castration-resistant prostate cancer cells. So you can treat them like with traditional treatments for androgen receptor antagonism, but these cells will continue to grow and continue to divide. And at this point, they're untreatable, uncurable, and it leads to the prostate cancer related deaths in these patients. So my particular research, we study ways to treat the untreatable, right? So there are different types of ways that prostate cancer grow to uh, become insensitive to these types of therapies. And so one of them is the increased expression of splice variants that the drugs can't target. So our research focuses on identifying downstream signaling cascades of these splice variants to find ways to indirectly target them. So if splice variant A leads to this cascade, and we find a gene that's important for feeding back into splice variant A and upregulating it, we can target the gene downstream and prevent that upregulation. So we look for ways to indirectly target this uncurable, untreatable prostate cancer rather.
Got you. As scientists, we get wrapped up in terminology. And on this show, Jabril and I, we like to break things down a little bit
Gotcha.
more, because our audience is a mixture of both scientists and non-scientists, or for the lack of a better word. You mentioned the words ligand, synthesis.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So can we kind of break down, go over your research again, but kind of break it down a little bit more so that
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Now, good point. All right. So basically, prostate cancer cells require a receptor that recognizes interacting partner, right? So it recognizes something in the atmosphere. So if it was a trash receptacle, it recognizes the paper ball that you throw into it, right? Or matter of fact, a gumball machine. You need to put a quarter in the gumball machine to get it going, right? So pretty much my research focuses on identifying ways. Well, sorry, the standard treatment is focused on preventing the coin and the gumball machine from interacting. That's like the standard of care treatment, right? And then you get some patients that evolve so that the gumballs just keep falling regardless, whether you have a quarter or not. And with the current state of prostate cancer research, we can't identify and target a way to stop the gumballs from falling, right? And that's cancer progression, right? So now we have to figure out a way, okay, well, how, if we can't, like, if it doesn't matter if you have a quarter or not, how can we target this? So my research focuses on trying to understand why, even though there's no quarter, the gumball machine is still going, and then figuring out a way to stop the gumballs from reaching the destination, which is cancer, right? So my research is downstream of the gumballs falling out. So let's say if our research is to close the little hatch that the gumballs come through at the end. So I'm focusing on finding ways to close down the hatch so the gumballs can't make it out. So things are still going on upstream that we can't control. But if we stop it here, the gumballs still won't get out. The cancer still won't continue to spread and affect patients.
Got you. That's a great way to explain. Cancer research or medical research, as a whole, is a very difficult thing to get across a general population. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at the news and someone is like Dr. Anthony Fauci or the Surgeon General, and they're talking about, I'm just giving you an example.
No, I got you.
Yeah. And they're talking about something like the coronavirus, or like when they were talking about H1N1. No one. You would have to. They would have to be actually a documentary about H1N1 on TV, or you would actually have to look up what H1N1 meant. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to our understanding of scientific terminology, how important is it to be able to express science to the general community without confusing anyone, without having someone feel defeated after watching, or just helping someone understand it in a way that like that you just did with your research.
And like one thing too, I want to commend you on your moderation because that's a really good point, right? And I got caught up in my research, and that's what happens. And like, when you hear things on the news and whatnot, it's just jargon, jargon, jargon. And I think it's super important for many reasons, why science and there's a feel for it, like, to make people that like translators of like, scientific information, because a lot of times we see this issue with doctors and physicians, especially in the Black community and poor communities that have, um, poorer quality of healthcare services. And, I can speak from my own personal family. I would go to the doctors with like, some of my family members, and, they wouldn't know what's going on. But then you have a fear of being judged or having a stigma over you about being, uneducated, or like, so you don't say anything, you don't ask questions. And that's why I think it's important what you're saying, that the weight falls on the presenter, the researcher, the speaker, to make sure that you disseminate this information in a way that everyone understands it, and that people don't feel like you're patronizing them, or that and so I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I think it's important. And one of the things that I want to get into and that I plan on getting into is making medical science information and knowledge accessible and relatable to the communities that I'm from. And like I said, from different conversations that I've had with my family members, like, and kind of like what we said like earlier, grandma got sugar. What does that mean? You know what I mean? What is diabetes? How does that work? What are some ways, with diet and nutrition or exercise, ways that we can understand it as a community, and increase that literacy? And I think that's super important. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. You can't blame the student for failing. You gotta look at how it's being taught.
Yep.
That is when I was a science teacher, a volunteer science teacher. I taught my students, cardiovascular biology and different in other areas of applied science. And I wanted to make sure that whatever I was saying was fun, energetic. There was a lot of engagement in when I was teaching,
Yeah.
And I come to find that scientists who teach well produce competent scientists.
Mm-hmm.
I've never met every scientist I've ever met had at least one science teacher that they liked, or that they not tended to, that they kind of put all of their energy into, or like into the most.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm a firm believer in that. But I got a few questions from Jabril.
Gotcha.
He actually gave me, Jabril, he gave me 13 questions.
So I was gonna say, he got them all. But while you get your question together, I just wanted, like, not really a segue, but I think that's an important commentary that you made in the importance of mentorship,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm only where I'm at right now because I've had so many amazing mentors, people that pour into you, and they pour life into the different studies that you subject. They you get they pour their passion into you about certain things. And I think we can talk about it later, but I think that's a really key thing that you mentioned, like as far as like a great teacher, but also like a mentor.
Yeah. Let me tell you a little story. It's not a segue, but it's related to what we're talking about. When I was in undergrad, I think this was the second semester, my freshman year, and at that, I had started my research when I was in high school, and I was constantly looking for people to help me with my research. And I found individuals, but I wanted to find someone that was in the field related to what I was studying.
Mm-hmm.
Atherosclerosis I've been studying atherosclerosis for a decade now, and that's been my primary research. One of my primary research pursuits since my senior year of high school. And when I got to undergrad, I went to Virginia State University. My biology teacher was also in cardiovascular research. And I spent like a year and a half trying to find someone I could seek guidance from with completing my research, understanding more about my research. And God literally put it all in my lap, while going to school. So I think it's good that we not only have mentors, but know how to seek them and how to find them and how to relate to them or speak to them about what we're interested in, about what we're doing. You know, that makes a huge difference, bro.
I'm with you 100% on that one. I agree completely.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so here we go. I'm not gonna ask the questions in order.
Got you. Yeah.
Be all over the place with it. Let's see here. Got it. This is a more relevant question. How has the COVID-19 pandemic affected your research direction? If so, in what ways?
So that's a good question. I think just I can speak for everyone on the planet that COVID has interrupted at least some part of your daily living, your normal life and normalcy as a whole. Right before
you on the rock.
right. So right before COVID started, I was preparing for what's called a proposal. So proposal meaning is like, you propose your thesis project to your committee, and you defend your initial data, and you guys kind of make a plan on how you go forward to completing the degree. And COVID came. No one really knew how that was going to impact anything. No one knew how long it was going to be, whatever. But am I here alone? Okay, sorry. I thought I was here alone. But yeah, so obviously things shut down. So that's the first thing. We were out of lab, so we could not get any new data. So for my proposal, it was, using the data that was available and kind of projecting what could be done, should be done going forward there. Also, I had to do my proposal via Zoom online, which is kind of where everything else is going. But the biggest, I guess, change or setback was like physically not being able to uh, obtain new data and do experiments. And I mean, now we start. Actually, I started back a little bit earlier than other people at school because we were working on a COVID grant, a COVID project. So I was able to come back a little earlier. But even then, like we had really stringent hours, and we worked on shifts, and we're still doing shift work now. So typically, I'm in lab on nights and weekends, and there are different blocks where other people are, just prevent overlapping, and that slows things down because there are always rate limiting steps, like who gets to use this particular technology at that time. But at this point now, we've managed really well. We've got ramped up. We're kind of comfortable with our schedule, so now I think we're good to kind of get back as close to full force as possible. But that was definitely the change initially.
Got you. Yeah, if anything, COVID-19 would definitely affect scientific research. It's a product. Now, I'm not going to say a product of it, but it's COVID-19 is definitely the number one field of study right now when it comes to scientific research, just purely because of its impact on the people around the world. Do you see, and this is kind of like a part two to that question.
Yeah.
Do you see your research evolving into the point of incorporating how COVID-19 has affected the prostate? Or
here's a really really interesting tie into COVID and prostate cancer. So I mentioned that we're working on a COVID-19 project, and obviously we're a prostate cancer research lab. But so for COVID-19 to enter the cell, it requires a protein called TMPRSS2, right?
Yep.
And so TMPRSS2 is a protein that's in the cells that helps with that process of COVID, entering the cells. And actually, TMPRSS2 is a known target that's regulated by that receptor I talked about, the androgen receptor, right? And so a lot of research now, and there are actually trials going on to study how prostate cancer therapeutics and just the basic biology of prostate cancer and the pathways that promote that protein's presence in the cells can be used to target or treat COVID. So there's definitely, for any prostate cancer researcher, to be honest, there's potential for your studies to overlap and or be related to, at least now, while there's not strong evidence in any way, the stage where we're discovering how things work and why they work, there's definitely potential for that, for sure, and we're already going in that direction, actually.
Gotcha. Awesome. All right, so we're actually at the 30-minute mark of the show, and at this stage of the show, we like to highlight a Black business. So right now, at this time, we're gonna go ahead and pull up Black and Mobile. Black and Mobile is, so DoorDash, Uber Eats, Postmates, any company that delivers food via an app or website. This is Black and Mobile. It is a Black-owned food delivery service that partners with different Black-owned restaurants in the Philadelphia, Atlanta, and I think there's one more other city, and it escapes me, but it's right now just currently available in 3 cities. They're growing. They are becoming very popular, especially in Philadelphia, where they originated. I found out about the company through Jabril, and it is definitely a beautiful company. I love what they do. If you're interested in Black and Mobile and you're in Philadelphia, or you're in Atlanta, or God, I wish I could remember that third city, but it'll come back to me. But if you're in those particular areas, definitely check out Black and Mobile. If you want to support Black-owned businesses, definitely check them out. They have a variety. I'm going to say it again, a variety of different types of foods that you can, that are, that you may be interested in. But definitely check them out. Black-owned. Both of these young men are twins. They're 25 years of age. So it's good to see Black men our age doing what we do in our sector, but in their sector, so it's very refreshing. But definitely check them out, blackandmobile.com. All right, cool. So now we're back into the show. The next question is from Jabril again, and for those who are watching, feel free to drop your questions in the chat box on Facebook, or if you're watching on YouTube, definitely go ahead and drop some questions down.
Yes, please. If I know you and you're watching, I expect participation, please, and support. So please go ahead and give us something to talk about.
Absolutely. All right, so let's see here. Describe your undergraduate experience in one word. How has that experience served to advance you personally and professionally?
One word. Oh man, can I do one word in the story?
Yeah.
All right. One word. I think my one word would be just growth. And so, can I give a quick story about my undergrad experience?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I went to the University of Pennsylvania, studied bioengineering, was playing sports, and I came in there, and I really thought I was it. I thought I was, the man. Came from high school, elementary school, I was a top student. Middle school, top student. High school, I wasn't top student, but I was up there, right? But I get to Penn, and it's just so different. Like, it's the first time in my life where I realized if you want this, you got to work for it. You know what I mean? I was always a natural athlete. I was always, naturally smart, right? Where things came to me. I learned how to pass tests, right?
Right.
But I had to learn, look, it's different. All the courses are graded on a curve, which means if you wanted to do well, you had to outperform everyone else in the class. There's no other way around it. If the average of the class was an 87 and you got an 85, my man, you got a C plus or C or C minus, right? If you want it, right? So, I was struggling when I got there. I'm not ashamed to tell the story. I love telling the story. But my first 3 exams when I got to Penn, the engineering, of course, right? It was chemistry, math, and physics, right? Engineer student, first year, first 3 exams. I got a 22, a 33, and a 16, right? Those are my 3 scores. And I'm there, I'm feeling defeated. I'm like, yo, I'm not built for this. Like, it's not it.
Did you say a 13?
Oh, 16. Give me credit. Give me my 3 points, young man. Give me my 3 points, right? No, but check me. 33, 20, 33, 20, and a 16. 16 was chemistry, 20 was math, calculus. And I went back. I had taken calculus 2 in Miami before I got there. I went back and started at calculus 1 thinking I'm gonna get an easy A. Let me tell you how life backfired on me, right? But anyways, right? And those are my 3 scores. I'm feeling defeated. I'm like, yo, like, this not it. Fast forward, I went to speak to my first advisor, and I remember, I'm a real proud guy, and I don't like to ask for help. I like to problem solve and figure things out. I went to this guy, and I sat down in his office. I won't say his name, but it's just a old white man, and but I remember I was sitting there, and I'm like, all right, well, he's a professional. Maybe he's gonna let me know everything's all right. This guy's like, well, maybe you should join the Navy. And I'm like, ha ha ha, like, yeah, that's funny. He's like, yeah, yeah, my dad, he was an engineer who couldn't count either. He joined the Navy. And I was like, and that was it. And he was like, all right, well, right. So at this point, I'm like, either give up or keep going. Anyways, obviously I persevered, I kept going. I learned how to be a better student. I grew into, the work ethic that I have today. And I finished really, I did well. So fortunately, in my first year, all 3 of those classes had one of those clauses where you could drop your lowest test grade. So I ended up doing okay. And I did well, I went but every process, every stage, it was like just growth, and it was growing as a person. That's the first time that you're out of the house by yourself and you get to grow as a man spiritually. You get to, practice your religion, your beliefs, for you, right? It's not because it's in your household. You grow as a person. You get to decide who you hang around with and why. And like that experience, you get to grow in regards to your network and your friends and the people that you hold close to you. So I just think like, just growth. Growth was that period of time, and it was all necessary, all the struggles, all the ups and downs, because they put me in a position, one, where I can relate to and empathize with everyone that I speak to. And I have a relatable experience because there's so many students that have a similar experience. And, you hear, oh, he's a PhD, he has this, like, no, like, I struggled at every level, but you learn to overcome and never give up on yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so those were important lessons that I got from undergrad.
Got you. I'll definitely bear witness to those lessons, man. And before we were, matter of fact, we talked a little bit about religion before we went live.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, Brill and I, we are members of the Nation of Islam, active, I would like to think, in Islam, very, very, very spiritual. What are let me put it like this. When I was an undergrad, I did not, and I'm not afraid to say it, I did not practice the Islam I was raised on 100%. I don't even think it was, I was only Tariq Muhammad in the classroom. Put it like
respect.
If the only person that knew what my last name was my roommate, of course, because he had to know who I was.
Yeah, right.
And then was anybody I decided to tell tell about myself.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was a little bit, apprehensive at that time. This is like 2013, 2014. And I was a little bit apprehensive about it because I didn't want the judgment, that people who have certain types of names or certain religions or ways of life have that tend to get from people who do not, so and then I grew to find out that and I already knew this. I already knew that my name wasn't the only person that had a problem with my name was me.
Mm-hmm.
A problem with sharing who I was me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, I love my name. I love Islam. I love everything that comes with that. I just don't love people's reactions to it.
Respect.
That, of course, that only lasted for like 2-3 months. People kind of was like, Tariq, you tripping? You're overreacting. And I was. Talk a little bit more about staying firm, because I know you're a very spiritual man yourself. Talk about staying firm to your beliefs and your faith while studying science or
Mm,
while being a scientist? Because we like
yep.
to separate God and science all the
Yep.
time, but not us.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit more.
Uh, so a few things. First thing, like, going back to, my name, right? How I use the D and the Z, and it's a matter of knowing who you are and embracing who you are. And that was a lesson that I learned, and I've grown into. Um, and one thing, like, I guess going back a little bit, through my journey and how, like, I've managed to remain who I am throughout all phases of life is because I was always confident in who I was. I always believed what I believed to be the truth. And I've dedicated and molded my life behind it. And so when being a scientist and believing in an omnipotent God, um, there's conversations that I always have with a lot of people. And, sometimes I feel we as humans give ourselves a bit too much credit, thinking that we know and understand and can, devise the reason behind so many things. And the more I've gotten deeper into science and the more I've gotten into education, the more like we don't know anything, right? Like there's like you can have an expert in a certain field and they probably understand that field more than anyone else in the world, but they probably know it like 12%. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like right, yeah, right. And like so there's so much complexity in everything. And the human race has come a long way, like amazing, of course, but it's just like and that's actually being in academia, being in science has probably strengthened my faith, right? Because you realize and you recognize, wow, you believe in an omnipotent God, um, and you realize, like, just uh, with any and everything that goes on in the world in regards to understanding, like, different scientific events in XYZ or things in science, and you recognize, like, we don't know, right? Like, we don't understand. And I think, for me, it's always been a source of strength, a source of comfort, a source of, just pride. And it makes me who I am. And I always stand firm. And, here's one thing that I've learned too, in being, a religious man in science, is that the Bible is filled with morals, values, and principles that anyone can live by, right?
Yeah.
And we're called to reflect those teachings, and even in the nation, like you're called to reflect those teachings in yourself, and people should see that in you. And I've had so many experiences where, like, there's certain interactions or instances within a lab space or something like that, and the way that I choose to go about things or to handle things or to instruct people to handle situations, like, whoa, like, that's different. It's like, no, like, that's me. That's what I've learned. That's what I believe in. And I feel like it's helped me throughout my professional career as well as, in my personal life. And I think with anyone, what you believe makes you who you are, and it allows you to confidently go forward in what you do. And I think that's a benefit to whatever you decide to do. I know I'm Rolando Lyles. I'm a Christian. I'm strong in my beliefs. I have a strong, Christian fiance behind me. I have a strong, foundation at home. And that allows me to continue to confidently seek my goals and, just be confident and comfortable in who I am. So, I mean, I've never been swayed by anything in science in regards to my religion or my beliefs. Like, there's nothing that can sway me. And I know that's like, a controversial topic for a lot of people in science, but for me, I think it's been a strength and a benefit to how I've been able to pursue my academic career.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. And I'm gonna ask. I'm personally gonna ask two more questions, and then I'm gonna turn it over to our audience.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Just to make a comment, really. Both you and I, we were two of Jabril's groomsmen. I think you were his best man, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and that was an amazing experience because he wanted everybody in his party to be in STEM or in science of some way, and to see Black men come together for a purpose outside of to see Black scientists come together or Black people in STEM come together for a purpose outside of STEM.
Mm-hmm.
Or another black man in his journey towards marriage. You know, I thought that was amazing, and it was so good to actually meet you in person that day. I think it was about 2 years ago.
Yep.
And you know, seeing how you and Jabril interact and seeing how him and I interact, it's almost like a parallel in Christianity and in Islam, to
Yep.
see, you know, one person who is a Muslim in faith being able to have similar relationships outside of his faith, you know. So we're taught in Islam a good Christian makes a good Muslim and vice versa. You know, so we definitely appreciate, you know, working with you, being in friendship and definitely being colleagues as well. My question really, and this is something I did not touch on, and this is a question we should have asked. What actually is the prostate gland? what does it do? What is it made for, and why is it important?
Yeah. So.
I think we got kicked out. All right, family, bear with us for 1 second while we get Rolando back in. That was weird. Just bear with us, family, for 1 minute while we figure out what's going on. But for those who, oh, there you go.
Am I here?
Yeah, you're good.
My fault. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Did you hear any part of my answer or no?
Say that again.
Did you hear any part of my answer or no?
Nah, as soon as you're about to explain, you went out.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So, the prostate gland is a gland that is important in reproduction for men. So it's a gland that's responsible for the fluid that sperm travels in, and pretty much allows a lubricant and a fluid for sperm, a fluid medium for sperm to travel through, obviously to fertilize the egg and result in pregnancy. So that's what prostate gland is. That's why it's an important, I guess, part of the male body. And only men have prostate glands, obviously. But that's one thing that, you know, I think we should always, like, you know, mention, because, like, you know, people hear about different types of cancers, and there's certain cancers that are specific to females and certain cancers that are specific to men, which is why when I mention prostate cancer in Black men, I only mention men because it's cancer specific to men.
Got you. And why is that important in the Black community? You know, as Black men, that's one of the checkups we do not want to.
Yeah.
Go that colon checkups, prostate, anything.
So
anything. Well, anything. For that. You know,
he said from below the neck.
Right, below the neck or below the chest. Anything below that area. You know, we don't like people messing around down there in any kind of way.
Yeah, so a few things, right? So one thing that's important to mention is that, like I said, prostate cancer is the most prevalent and the most lethal cancer in Black men, right? There are a lot of cancer disparities are real. Disease disparities are real. We can see now that, you know, COVID affects the Black community or different communities more so than other things. Cancers, disease disparities are real. And I won't get into the reasons why. Like, you know, there's obviously a component of genetics. There's probably education, access to healthcare. There are a lot of different things, right? Timely healthcare. So I won't get into why, but the fact of the matter is, like, those are the facts. Like, there are disparities that exist. So the first thing that we have to do as Black men and Black people is make sure we're doing our part to prevent ourselves from becoming susceptible to these diseases, right? It's important to get you know, a prostate exam, and it's not even a prostate exam that you need. The first thing that you do, kind of what I mentioned, is that you can get a blood test, right? And everyone, when you go to, like, you know, your checkups, your annual checkups or whatever, and they do blood work, or whenever you do blood work, right? And for men, you know, usually after the age of 40, they check, like, you know, your PSA levels. Like, they really focus on your PSA levels. And PSA it means prostate specific antigen. So it's something that's detectable that comes only from your prostate cells. And if it's high, that means you have excess, well, you could have excess prostate cells, and it makes them do further analysis, right? So the first thing is, like, even if you just stay current with your blood work, you can get a gauge of if your prostate cells are, of normal numbers, right? That's the first thing a lot of people don't know. Like, when we think of a prostate exam, everyone thinks, like, what they call a digital rectal exam. And it's when, like, they they have to physically touch the prostate through the rectum to feel for any abnormalities. But that is a second step to when they identify, okay, either, like, you have symptoms of something, like, um uh different pains or different things like that, which could be associated with many things, or you have an elevated PSA. So that comes secondary. But even so, it's still important to just understand and know what's going on, right? Because, like, one message to give for everyone, like, cancer is not only a disease that affects you. It affects you, it affects your family, it affects your children, it affects, your colleagues and your friends. Because as much as you're burdened and hurt experiencing it, they have to watch you experience it, and they have to be there for you. And it's if we can do what we can to stay on top of things, that's what's important. But that's why it's important to stay on top of those things, because early detection in prostate cancer can save lives. If you identify it and realize, okay, cool, it's this localized thing, remove it, you can be good for the rest of your life. No long-term complications. So early detection is important, and staying current. And it could be as simple as with the blood test.
Got you. So earlier, about 20 minutes ago, I highlighted a Black-owned business, Black and Mobile. One of our audience members commented the third city, and it's Detroit. So in Detroit, Atlanta, or Philadelphia, you can definitely take advantage of Black and Mobile.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I was going to open up the laptop and look it up real quick while you were saying it.
I should have did that myself.
My batteries, my laptop battery, it's one of those, I got to stay plugged in. It's rinky. But
bro, I'm telling you, I've had the same laptop for the last 5 years now, and I have this desire to get a new one, but I'm emotionally tied to it. So
we've been through a lot together.
Yeah, trying to wean myself off of it. But I have one question from Carla Jones.
Okay.
As a Black man in this field, do you ever? And shout out to I'm not sure what her name is, but her user handle is Lala Naturalista. Shout out to her for giving us the third city. But as a Black man in this field, do you ever feel pressure or obligation to find and mentor other Black men coming up behind you? How have you dealt with being one of the chosen few? That in quote.
Got you. So no pressure anyway, right? So things happen because of desire, and it, like, especially if you're, like, in a field where you're already a minority within, like, your space. But there's no pressure, but everything is from a genuine desire. And I've always, even now and to this day, like, I've always what'd you say, Kayla Jones?
Yeah.
Oh, Chris.
Did I pronounce her name wrong?
No, it is. It's cool. It's cool.
Okay.
I know Chris. One of my good friends, actually. But no, like, so there's no pressure at all. It's a genuine desire. And, like, so many people who know me, if you personally know me, you know how important my nephew is to me, right? And you've probably seen pictures on all my socials, and I know for a fact that he watches everything that I do, right? So that's, like, someone who, I know that I'm setting an example for. But one thing that I've learned over time is that it's so many people that you aren't directly communicating with or interacting with that are watching you the same way. And one of the biggest things that I made sure I did when I was at Penn, like I told you, I was never ashamed of my failures, right? And a lot of times people try to make themselves seem like they're in this, like, elevated bubble where everything's been perfect, and people can't relate to you, right? And you don't want to talk to people, and you don't feel like whatever they've gotten or wherever they are is attainable, and that's not the case, right? She mentioned something about a chosen few, and I don't feel like I'm one of the chosen few. I feel like I'm one of the ones who were fortunate enough to be put in place around the right people. to encourage me, to build me up, and to help me get to where I am. And I've always wanted to be that for everyone else. So at Penn, every time I met a new Black student at Penn, a new Black male in particular, I'll make sure I talk to him. I'll make sure how class is going. Oh, I'm struggling, da, da, da. I'm trying to get like you, big bro. I'm like, bro, you're doing way better than I was when I was there. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's important just to recognize, like, one, be relatable, right? Like, I play, sports and whatever, like, we chill and do whatever. But then you see me, I'm also on top of my game and I'm doing everything that I got to do. And when we have these conversations about the process and how it's not easy and how you're not always on the top, but you got to stick through and work through it, like, that's always been important. And I've always, with anyone in any space that I've been in, Black or not, to be honest, but like, just to make sure you realize, like, it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, you can manage and you can do this. And, mentorship, we kind of touched earlier, is super important because, like, there aren't, and I'm pretty sure, like, you may be able to say the same thing, but where I'm from, there aren't doctors of anything. There aren't, they're barely, entry level degrees. And, and it's obviously a lot of people model what they do after what they see. And so I've always wanted to make it a point to be, someone whose life is seen as, oh, I can do that, right? Like, oh, shoot, like, like, bro, he played ball, he real cool or whatever, down to earth, he talks like me. And then you find out, oh, well, he about to be a doctor? He's, you know what I mean? And I think those are the type of interactions and relationships that need to be highlighted for everyone to see, because even if you're not in that same proximity, like, you can see that this is attainable, right? So I think that's kind of where I fit in that question.
Awesome. Those are very good points, man. And I often feel too that if you do something based on pressure, you changing the whole dynamic of it.
Mm-hmm.
It'll go from, and you may in that relationship, the pressure may be relieved because now you're enjoying the relationship between you and your mentee. But if it starts out as pressure, or starts out as you being forced to do something, then how you go into it will change everything.
That's right, yep.
A mentee, especially in science, you want to come into it with the right reasons, the right way of doing things, the right mental process, and you want to make sure that the person you're guiding or menteeing in some way does not see that pressure. Because if they feel that you're doing this out of pressure, they're gonna pull back as well and be defensive and not want to, be in that kind of relationship because you don't.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a mutual want or need for that relationship to exist. And it's the same thing in the human body. We just got finished talking about prostate. If there's no need for it, it's going to cause a problem. If there is a need for it, then those two things will work well together.
Yep.
If you're eating a whole bunch of French fries and you pouring extra fatty acids or free radicals into your body, those things, your body doesn't need that.
Yep.
So it's going to cause a problem. Your body needs nutrition. Those two things are going to go well together. So it's not going to be a mix up or
That's
issue.
really well said, bro. Really well said.
You got to understand that, But I got two questions.
All right.
2 questions that we're gonna wrap it up.
Gotcha.
This one is from Lala Naturalista as well, and I hope I'm saying that right. So if I'm not, please let me know. Why did you choose your field of research, and do you have a personal connection to it?
Yeah. So I chose prostate cancer initially because it was an opportunity that was presented to me. So my mentor, who's still my mentor today, most amazing researcher, just human being, like, and when I was an undergrad, pretty much I saw everyone that was doing all these great things with their summers, and you hear, oh, I'm interning here, and I'm like, shoot, I'm not doing anything, right? And at the time, my father was sick with prostate cancer, and I wanted to be closer to home that first summer, right? And so I reached out. I was in Philly. I reached out to all these researchers at the University of Miami. And my current mentor, she replied. She was like, hey, I can take you, but I don't have funding for you. I usually don't take undergrads. And, like, you know, like, I can't offer much to you. And I was like, that's fine. Like, you know, I want the experience, I want the opportunity. And you know, and we had a good summer. She invited me back the following year. Fast forward, this is now my thesis mentor.
Wow.
But and then the personal tie, like I said, like my father has prostate cancer. You know, that was something, not only like did my initial research experience wasn't in prostate cancer, but then once I realized that, wow, I've been placed in a position, and I believe God strategically does things like this, right? I've been placed in a position, the person that gave me the opportunity to study the cancer that plagues my father, a cancer that in a lot of cases is hereditary, which will probably affect my siblings and myself, right? That we already know affects the Black community. And it's like, I was placed in this position to study this cancer, right? But there's personal ties, but then also the, I don't know, divine placement, or you know, just the opportunity was there as well.
Awesome. Awesome.
That's a
And
good question. Thanks.
yeah, great question. You know, a lot of our endeavors, whether it be in science or whatever field we're in, 9 times out of 10 is personal. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's crazy because the reason I chose cardiovascular biology, you know, I didn't, that was a field of choice um, before it became personal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that I was always attracted to the heart. I love how the blood moves around the body, and the different things that come about it when something goes wrong. I'm not saying I love that, but
Yeah.
you know, I like
No, no.
yeah,
I know what you mean.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, if we find ways to use our personal problems or issues as a way to fuel, you know, our goals and our desires,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we'll find that not only can we overcome those things, but we can contribute to that problem, you know, by using it as something to build
Mm-hmm.
and constantly grow. But I have this is the final question. This is
Okay.
what we were talking about before we went live.
Yep.
Um, the STEM files, as everyone sees it, is powered by a company called Original Med Scientific. At one point, we were going to separate the STEM files from OMS, and we kind of did, but we did it in a different way. Instead of them being two separate products, we made the STEM files a product of OMS.
Mm-hmm.
So, as for those who are listening, OMS is a research and development company. It's Black owned. It's owned by myself, Jabril. Jabril is the director of engineering. I'm the chief operating officer. And one of the things we do is we take research and development and we drop it into the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine taking order, going on Amazon, and you're ordering a product off Amazon, which is nothing but a drop shipping company. Imagine you're going to Amazon, order a product, and they send that product to your house. What OMS is when you find out what OMS is, or when we come to you and tell us what OMS is, you're ordering OMS. Not saying you're paying for it, but you are subscribing to OMS, or you're acquiring OMS. And then what we do is we take that and we put it into your community. We deliver you R&D. And I think that's important because the scientific environment, our laboratory environment, for us to be able to control in our communities is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
Scientific research has been one of the number one tools for oppression in the Black community for hundreds of years. Since the beginning of chattel slavery, scientific research and science as a study and as a whole has been used to do a lot of very, very terrible things to Black people in general, as a matter of fact, but mainly Black people. What are some of the innovative ways we can position ourselves to employ PhDs like yourself and other STEM professionals, and with the system I just described?
Yep. So I think, you know, one of the key things that you brought up that's important to a lot of people is that, you know, one, in a lot of the STEM fields, Blacks are very underrepresented, right?
Yeah.
From the levels of the people selected for clinical trials, to the people hosting the clinical trials, to the researchers, to the physicians, right? And you know, in a lot of cases as well, you want and people want to find ways to give back to their family, their friends, their community, right?
Yeah.
And as scholars, as researchers, as physicians, as scholars, uh, one of the key resources that we have available to us is intellect, our ability to think, our ability to conduct research and do experiments. And it's a platform and a way for us to be able to give back to our community specifically. You know what I mean? And I think that's like, one of the ways that OMS, provides a medium and a means for people like myself to be able to readily connect, but not only connect, but to give back and to provide our talents and resources, and what we provide through OMS to the community. And so I just think, being able and having something in place, right? Like the thing about a lot of opportunities is that, like, or a lot of gaps and holes in spaces is that the opportunity to act on them or to do anything, they just aren't in place, right? And that's why I commend, you all for starting OMS to put something in place, gathering. I've watched, most of the interviews, and the brilliant people, incredibly talented, amazing personalities. Um, and I think is fantastic. So just providing that space and that platform is something that can and attracts people like myself to, excuse me, to participating with OMS.
Thank you so much, man. We definitely appreciate that. And we are actually at the end
Let
of
me one quick thing real
yeah.
quick. Sorry. All right. So one quick thing. I'm definitely a Black cancer researcher. We have Black in Cancer Week coming up October 11th through the 17th. So I'm part of the organizing committee there. We're putting together a great week of events to dispel cancer myths and just highlight Black excellence in the cancer research space. Like we're going to focus on education, community engagement, professional network, and it's going to be an amazing week. So just look out for everyone that's watching. The hashtag is Black in Cancer Week. So that's going to be super dope, and I'm proud to be a part of that. So I wanted to mention that as well, for anyone and everyone watching.
Awesome, awesome. And how can those who are watching get in contact with you? Facebook, Instagram, anything like that? Email?
Yeah. Yeah, I give it off. So Facebook is Rolando Lyles, so you see my name there. Instagram is Doc RDZL. So Doc DOC RDZL, my initials. I don't have a Twitter, or if I do, I don't know the handle because I made it because my mom wanted to talk to me when I was in college, but that's another thing. So I don't have that one. But pretty much Instagram. Oh, email. Email is rdz.lyles, Lyles, my last name, at Gmail. And like, please, like, feel free to reach out to follow so we can, just continue conversations. Follow the Twitter Black and Cancer Week. We have a Twitter page. So follow that to get more informed about what's going on with that. But yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome, awesome. Well, for those who are watching, this has been another edition of the STEM Files, where we highlight the best and brightest in science and technology in the Black community. We love, we love science and technology, and we love Black people. And what better way to bring the two together than with the STEM Files? You
Yes,
know,
sir.
so thank you again. I'm just gonna call you Doc. It's crazy because like when I did the advertisement for the show, I put Doctor, and then Jabril was like, I don't think he finished the PhD yet. So
Yeah, no, yep.
yeah, yeah. So but yeah, but we appreciate you, man, and we definitely look to have you back on, especially when you get your PhD.
Yes, sir. And man, like honestly, like on the side of everything, I'm so proud of how far this has come, man. It's amazing to see, and to be a part of since the beginning. And like just congrats and many well wishes and blessings to OMS, to you, to Jabril. Like this is amazing, and your platform is great and it's growing, and it's amazing to watch, man. So just congrats again.
Thank you so much, man. We appreciate that. And for those who would like to learn more about the STEM Files and what we do, go ahead and visit us on Facebook. at the STEM Files, exactly as it reads. There's no dots in between STDE. YouTube, same thing, the STEM Files. Instagram, at the STEM Files. If you want to learn more about Original Man Scientific, just visit us at our website at omanside.com. Once again, that's omanside.com if you want to learn more about what Original Man Scientific does and how you can help, or how we can help you. That's we like to put how we can help you more than how you can help us, because helping you helps everybody.
That's right.
And also, Original Man Scientific, we are doing a 9-week invention seminar. Well, it's not a seminar, it's almost like a workshop. And what we're doing in this workshop is teaching young people between the ages of 8 and 18 how to invent and how to innovate. So the program takes place every Saturday from September 19th on to November 14th. If you would like to register for the program or more information on the program, just visit the website at the bottom. It's omanside.com/OMS events. Once again, that's omanside.com/OMS events. We teach young people between the ages of 8 and 18 how to invent, the science behind intellectual property, how to patent your idea, how to market your idea or build a business around your idea. And we really want to also help create the next generation of OMS talent in the STEM community. So definitely take advantage of the program. Rolando, is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with before we go?
I just want to say, like, first and foremost, thank you all for your time and then your investment to want to know more about and increase your knowledge in everything STEM related. I know I specifically talked about cancer and prostate cancer, but it just shows your desire to grow intellectually. And I think, once again, this is a great platform for us as intellectuals and just as people who want to know the truth and to learn as much as we can, to network and to come together. So please use the contact information, reach out to me. Let's start a conversation about just any and everything. And once again, thanks again for your time, man.
Awesome. Well, definitely when we have you back on, Jabril will be with us. I'm anxious to see what the show will be like with all three of us on here.
Yeah, man.
On this platform, and but yeah, man, thank you so much. Once again, for those who are watching, this has been the STEM Files, where we highlight the best and brightest in science and technology in the Black community. So definitely stay tuned for our next episode, which will take place Thursday, August 20th. Jabril and I will be hosting a Siblings in STEM episode, where we'll be joined by our younger siblings, my
that's dope.
Nadia and his little brother. Yeah, it's gonna be
that's dope.
It's gonna be dope. Sign language interpreter. She can speak the things that she's been able to do with sign language is amazing. And then of course, Amin is a engineering student at Howard University. So we got a jam-packed show. Yeah, we got a jam-packed show. Yeah, definitely tune into that August 20th, 6 p.m. Eastern time. All right, everyone.
Yo, can I give a shout out real quick? Because I never done that. Yo, shout out to my beautiful fiance April. You are amazing. I love you. Looking forward to marrying you. And I'm saying in front of everybody, just so you know. But yeah, that's and my mom too. You got to shout out mom. Love you, mom. All right, man. That's it.
I would be remiss if I didn't shout out my wife and my mom. So I can't let you have all the fun. So definitely shout out to my wife Kiera and my mom, and to anybody watching that supports us and what we do. We appreciate you, and we definitely look forward to having more dialogue and more awareness, especially as it relates to prostate cancer. Man, keep doing what you're doing. I'm excited. OMS is here to help anything that you do, man, especially when it's time for you to take control.
Yes, sir.
Right. Cool. So thank you again for all who are watching. Please tune into our next episode, August 20th, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And this has been the STEM Files. Peace, everyone.